For today's Tutorial Tuesday, we're talking about glazing lidded objects. So first I want to talk a little bit about drying and firing these. We always want to do that with them stacked together. These are going to warp a little bit. As you can see, this guy did warp some, but the way that I had it stacked while it was drying is a nice snug fit. So make sure you keep them stacked or the lid on your vessel as you dry it and fire it. So now speaking of firing, we want to make sure that all these areas like the flange and then the interior where they touch whenever we have them stacked will not have glaze on them, because if you have glaze in those areas where it's touching, they will fuse together and then you will have a locked lidded jar, and that's no fun. So I like to use wax to do this, and I'm just going to put wax on that flange and then that rim, just again anywhere where the clay is going to touch another piece. We want to make sure we wax it so that once we glaze it, it's really easy to wipe that glaze away, and that will leave that clay bare. That way they will come apart after the firing and they won't be locked together. So we're just going to paint this wax on. Be really careful about where you paint it, because if you accidentally get it where you don't want it, it's a real pain in the butt, and sometimes you even have to bisque fire it again to burn the wax out. So we're going to get all these areas that touch nice and waxed, and then we're going to dip them in glaze. So I'm just going to dip each piece into the glaze. See how that wax repels it? It really does help, but then you do still have to go in with a sponge and clean it up, and we want to make sure we get it really, really clean. So we're just going to dip all these. I'm going to let them kind of dry so I can handle them better. And once they're a little bit drier to the touch, I am just going to clean them up. I want to make sure to clean them really well. Even this little tiny amount of glaze would force your piece to fuse together, and we do not want to have a fused lid. That absolutely is heartbreaking. So get it nice and clean. You can patch up any areas where you have bare spots, but make sure you leave that interior rim, the flange, and the underside of any rim nice and bare so that they do not fuse together. And there we have it. We're going to fire it together. Voila.